Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
I want our players to enjoy it, especially our seniors who this is their only opportunity to enjoy a Final Four, but also let them know that it's a business trip. So we're going to balance our enjoyment while staying focused on the task at hand, which is Notre Dame on Sunday night.
It's got to be over now because we're going to play Friday against a really good North Carolina team. They're playing good. They did a good job. We got a good hitting ball club.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Another beautiful afternoon here in the capital city of Columbia as we come to you from Main Streets, downtown Columbia. Sports Talk, your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Phil Kornblut, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, the State Man Graham Pope, all together tonight. Let me go ahead and wish everybody a happy holiday weekend. Easter holiday, Passover begins tomorrow night. I won't be here tomorrow night because of the first night of Passover. But I'll leave the little Easter bunnies here, K-Mac and the professor, to handle things tomorrow night. You'll be in excellent hands. We have got a great show for you once again tonight. Dawn Staley and her Gamecocks are in Tampa before leaving. She and the players met with the media at the Carolina Coliseum. Let you hear from Dawn coming up here shortly. Ran Henry is going to be in studio with us here in just a little bit. Ran is the man who wrote the book on Steve Spurrier. If you haven't purchased the book, you should. It's a great read. It's a controversial book in that Spurrier's not happy about one particular thing in there. We'll talk with Ran about that. He was with us before when the book was published, and it's still out there, and he's still talking about it, and we'll talk with him about where he's going to go with his story on Spurrier because he's not finished. He still has a paperback version to come, which will extend his coverage of Spurrier's coaching career at South Carolina in particular. Also tonight, Jamal Gregory, we have hooked up with him, and he will be with us tonight in our second hour. The USC basketball commitment. Missed him last night because he got caught up in some workouts, and we weren't able to hook up with him at the scheduled time, so we'll do that coming up tonight as well. So we've got a lot of great stuff coming your way. USC football practice, we'll have that covered for you. Some comments from Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett after what was a tough loss for them. I told you not to sleep on Presbyterian. They had beaten Central Florida. They go into Doug Kingsmore, K-Mac, and beat the Tigers. Tiger fans right now, if you go by Twitter, not real happy with what's going on with their baseball program.
No, man. And that was a stunning loss for me, but some Clemson fans were claiming they weren't stunned. You hate to see it. I mean, this is a program that has fallen dramatically, and you don't know why. I mean, what caused this? But I mean, Jack Leggett, he's got to find himself out of this, and it's going to be difficult right now for him. And you hate to see it. You really are kind of watching it slowly die on the vine.
Yeah. And we defended Jack strongly last year, and he deserved it. But it's on him to get his team winning more games and moving forward. It's on his shoulders. Back in a moment.
It's a game. It's a game to get to the ultimate. It's a game. It's a game to get to the ultimate goal. So we'll just try to figure out. It's a game. It's a game to get to the ultimate goal. Figure out. It's a game to get to the ultimate goal.
Coach Martin, getting messy
On the floor.
What are you hearing from other coaches around the department? Coach Spurrier.
And everybody's, everybody's happy because, it just brings more attention to South Carolina and makes us look good as an overall program and university. And anytime that you're able to.
All right, busy night here on Sports Talk. We're going to jump right into things. And first and foremost, of course, coverage of the USC women's basketball team. They left Columbia today for Tampa for the Final Four. They'll be down there, of course. Sunday they play at 6:30. Before leaving, after practice at the Carolina Coliseum, Dawn Staley and her players met with the media. Here is what Dawn had to say to us before they loaded up for the airport and headed to Tampa.
It's a game to get to the ultimate goal. So we'll just try to figure out where our strengths are, where the mismatches are, and play the game. It's a very good game. It's a very competitive game. I think it will be very similar in personnel. I think our depth hopefully will have a factor in the game.
What's your message to the ladies here at the end of practice? Did you want to make certain that you set the tone and focus before you get down to Tampa?
Absolutely. I want our players to enjoy it. To our seniors, who this is their only opportunity to enjoy a Final Four, but also let them know that it's a business trip. So we're going to balance our enjoyment while staying focused on the task at hand, which is Notre Dame on Sunday night.
You said you've stayed in the moment for the most part this year. Have you changed anything in practice into it, or just keeping going as is?
I think for us, what we've done all year long is stay in character. There's no need to change what you've done all season long, because we're headed to the Final Four. I think the teams that stay in character and do the things they've done all season long are going to be the teams that have some success in the Final Four.
You got a couple of slow starts last couple of games, dug yourself got yourself out of it. If this happens against Notre Dame, can you recover again? You have to do something different to get up to a better start.
Only time will tell. I think we do need to get off to a quicker start and not dig ourselves in a hole. But Notre Dame is the type of team, they're very patient. They're very calculating. They like to make you play for long stretches on defense. So they take some of the possessions out of the game because they're so patient with what they want to do. For us, I think, we let our team know that we got off to 2 slow starts. And I think we've had to make adjustments to how teams are playing us. So we have that to reflect on, and hopefully we'll use it to our advantage and get off to a better start.
Team chemistry has been a big part of this season because really everybody's been happy with their playing time. Was it easy to manage that from the beginning of the season?
No, I don't think it's an easy thing because you have careers, you have people who have aspirations of playing, you got competitors. So it was really hard to manage it, but I think when you're able to communicate, it didn't come from anywhere. Our communication from our staff, just to let the players, just to reassure them that we're doing this for an ultimate goal. It's not for individual accolades or individual satisfaction. It is to get to places that we've never been, and we feel like as it turns out, we did the right choices in trying to maneuver everybody and keep everybody happy while still maintaining and staying on the course of our ultimate goal.
Don, how did you go about building a national championship mentality within the program?
I think it is, one, I think you have to have core values. You have to have, what it is, principles about how you coach the game. And for our coaching staff it's just that stay disciplined to the recruiting, stay disciplined to how basketball should be played, and stay disciplined to, just outworking people. And I think our players have taken on our staff's personality and focused and discipline oriented.
And did that start in recruiting from the first day, or did you have to wait a couple classes to begin to talk national championship with recruits?
Well, I think it started probably for me 15 years ago when I started to coach. There's a certain way to do things, and sometimes you want to take shortcuts. And I think, but for us, we've never taken a shortcut. We've always probably taken the route in which is probably less traveled, but in order for us to get it right, I like, I like clean lines. I think, very clearly when the lines are clean and clear. And that's the approach that we've taken. I think a lot of, when you recruit against certain programs, they have tradition, especially if you recruit the type of players that we got. I think fortunately for us, they were in our own backyards. And, I think because we're able to, keep people here, I think it makes us more attractive nationally. So we're able to probably recruit outside of our region now, especially since we've had, the recent success of going to Final Four.
Did you have any doubts early on, though, that ultimately that you could get it to national championship contention?
I didn't have any doubts, but the struggle was very real when you're not winning as much as you're working hard. And I think what we've asked, what we put ourselves through as a staff is we had to understand that it's a process. The same things that we ask each freshman as they come into our program it's a process. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. If you just stay the course, things will work out. And we had to adhere to the same advice that we were giving our freshmen.
You talk about the scout team guys and the roles that these guys have come in and really putting your girls through the paces.
I mean, one of the secrets of our success is we've had dedication and sacrifice on our from our practice players. Those guys they come every day, just as much as our players. When they don't have classes, they're here. And they get treated just like one of our players, and that is. We're hard on them when they're not disciplined and when they're not paying attention to the details of our opponents. We get on them, and they feel very much a part of our team, and they should, because they're the reason why we've had so much success and we haven't had as many injuries, knock on wood, because they're taking some of the reps of some of our players who probably need a break now and then. So for us, this was our last practice with them, and so it was kind of bittersweet, but grateful for what they've given to our program.
Your first Final Four as a head coach, how does the anticipation compare to that first trip you made as a player?
Well, since I do have some experience being in the first Final Four, as a coach, it's gratifying. It is, because it touches, outside of our current roster. This is what we wanted for every player that has played for us as a coaching staff. We went into their home saying we want to go to Final Fours and we want to win national championships. And for them, they'll feel this, because a lot of them are coming down to Tampa to cheer us on and support us. But it feels really good, because we work hard. Our staff, we work tremendously hard, and this is our reward for our hard work. We're going to go and enjoy it, but we're also going to stay in character, because it is a business trip. We want to get the ultimate goal of winning a national championship.
As you delve more into it, what have you seen from Notre Dame, and what strikes you the most as you look at them on film?
Notre Dame, they're like a machine from an offensive standpoint. They're, in the likes of Connecticut, where they find the person that's supposed to shoot the ball. They make basketball look beautiful and easy because they feed off of each other. And at any given time, they got an All-American like Jewel Lloyd, who could create her own shot at any time. But, they use everybody. They use every single body that's on the floor. They're patient. And some of it is just, they're methodical in their, what they do from an offensive standpoint, and they're good and efficient. And when you play that type of basketball, it's hard, but we have to be equally as disciplined as they are out there on the floor.
Okay, Dawn Staley, before leaving Columbia, the coaches will have their final news conference on Saturday, and then the tip-off for USC Notre Dame will be 6:30 on Sunday. Back with more in a moment. Okay, we're back on Sports Talk. Couple of quick things I want to mention. Our good friends at the Anderson Area Touchdown Club, they have their annual awards dinner on Wednesday at the Anderson Sports and Entertainment Complex. Connor Shaw will be the guest speaker, and they invite everyone to come on out. They'll be recognizing players, high school players who won various awards. Advance tickets are $15 for adults, $10 for students. That includes a meal. Again, that's coming up on April the 8th. They begin at about 6 o'clock, and they'll have a band there, and they'll, of course, have a meal line at 6:30. 864-226-7380 for reservations. Again, Connor Shaw will be the guest speaker. Should be a great night. 864-226-7380. And I'm very sad to report the news of the passing of Charlie Bussey, one of the all-time greats at Clemson, the first academic All-American in any sport in Clemson athletic history, quarterback of their ACC title team in '56. He died early this morning at his home in Clemson, and just a great, great man. I had a chance to know him a little bit, and you will not find a nicer person in Charlie Bussey, a humble man and just a great, great athlete at Clemson, and went on to serve in the role of director of athletics at Louisiana Tech and various aspects of college athletics. So Sorry to hear and pass along the news of the passing of Charlie Bussey to you tonight here on Sports Talk. All right, want to welcome in our good friend Rand Henry, author, teacher, the man who wrote the book on Steve Spurrier. He is here in studio with us. How are you?
I'm good. Good evening, Gamecock Nation.
It's good to have you with us.
Thank
How's
you very
the book?
much.
How's the book going?
It's going. It's really a pleasure to talk about it here in Columbia with the people that I truly wrote it for.
Which is Gamecock Nation.
You bet.
But don't you think others with an interest in college football, Florida fans as well, would be interested in this book?
I think everybody could and should be, because it is a story of a competitor. And how do you get to be a person who simply wills their way to victory? Steve Spurrier is a player, not the biggest, strongest fellow on the field. Indeed, as a kid, the slowest, smallest kid on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But instilled in him was a desire to play with the big boys. If you look at his coaching choices, Duke, football powerhouse when he arrived there, Florida. Seen as how Georgia stole the Gatorade before Steve Spurrier had a chance to win an SEC title at the Gator Nation. Not a powerhouse either. He made them so. And South Carolina, certainly, if I may say, a school in need of a spark.
Sort of a unique individual, though, in that the type of coach who never got married to, I sleep on the couch, I work 24 hours a day or so. So he talks about his leisure and sticks it to his opponent about working too hard.
I think the only Heisman Trophy winner ever to coach a Heisman Trophy winner is still playing the ball game. And when it's over, he showers up and goes home.
Doesn't take the work at the office home with him, though I'm sure he does his homework and his studies at home. Stand by, Rand. We'll get back to you in just a moment. Break coming up here on Sports Talk. Back in a moment. Name of the book is Spurrier, How the Ball Coach Taught the South to Play Football. The author, Brad Henry, is with us here in our Sports Talk studios in downtown Columbia. Good to have him with us here once again. The book has been out for a little while, and you're still working on more because you're going to have a paperback edition coming out later on. It's going to extend your story on Spurrier, more coverage, more comprehensive information about his time in particular at South Carolina.
Very dramatic season coming up. And I do mention Gamecocks as my prime reader because even in Florida, they're starting to say, you know, Coach Spurrier's best coaching job is now. Anybody at some point would have taken Florida to heights. No one predicted what Coach Spurrier would do here in Carolina. It's his best work.
In researching the book, we talked to you about this before the book came out, but just to rehash that a little bit, in researching the book, how much time did you spend with family members, close friends of his, former players? Where did you go to get most of your information about him? How much did you talk with Spurrier himself about himself, and how open was he to you?
He doesn't like to talk about himself. I save my best questions for when I get that fateful hour, and perhaps that's one reason he's not always comfortable with the spotlight on him. One very unbelievably untested part of his story, unproven part of his story, his childhood. Everything that you read about him, he's a page after being born in Miami, Florida on the 20th of April, 1945. He's in Johnson City. He's 12. Wait a second. Newport, Tennessee, and Athens, Tennessee were full of people who played with Stevie Spurrier. Recall vividly that when the score was not in his favor, suddenly it was his ball.
And he found a way to try to turn things his way?
Absolutely. They had never in their whole history heard or seen of a young man so intent on winning, a young man who never would play cops and robbers, kick the can, blind man's bluff. If Stevie Spurrier was going to play a game, it was ball. His early toys, he said, were balls. And he has gone from playing ball as a very small lad on the field of Tennessee Wesleyan College with the big boys. Man, they couldn't even run 100 yards. They'd stay there by one goalpost. But idolizing a man named Doak Willett, named after the other Doak, who was his first football hero, number 22, and had some mentoring to do. Had that Willett shift, now it's the Wildcock offense. And there would not be one part of Stevie Spurrier's early football knowledge, especially seeing the Emory and Henry game there in Johnson City later, that is not now a part of his repertoire. He was always focused on being a winner, and that shows today.
You write in there about his relationship with his father.
I do.
Who was a preacher.
Yes.
And you write in there that the father at times was particularly hard on him. And he took some exception to the way you described the relationship with his dad.
I think you're going to have to look a long way to find a young man or an older man who is so dedicated to winning and yet such a stickler for the rules. His father pushed and pushed and pushed him. Gosh, do you see that in his coaching methods? He hollered at me a little bit the other day on the proving ground. Jerry Spurrier hugged me. I guess there's ambivalence there, but I tell you this. Coach Spurrier is a demanding coach, and he gets results. You are not stunned, I am sure, to know he had a demanding father.
What did he say to you about that part of the book?
He just said his dad was in heaven. He was here to defend him. I think all of us, once we lose our parents, it's a weekend in which we look back, I think, on people that have sacrificed for us. Our parents would be top of that list. We look at them fondly, but that doesn't change history. And thank God. Coach Spurrier had a demanding father. I listen to him talk to his players, and I hear his dad. And I think that he has become a fabulous father, a father figure to his team, that those fellas look up to him in that way. And that speaks so highly of him, what he has been through in his life and his journey to realize that his dad gave him tough love and what that means. You wouldn't realize it unless you saw the scenario unfold.
Is he a guy... So many people who reach great heights had to overcome hardships of some form or another, whether it be physical, financial, social, whatever the case may be. Did he face that in his childhood in any form or fashion? Is he driven in some form or fashion because of some of the things he had to maybe overcome as a child? Did he face those kind of obstacles that drove him to where he is today?
Ministers not well paid in those days. His dad was a man of faith who lived his faith, walked the walk, And I think Coach Spurrier, though he has earned a lot of money playing football, appreciates everything that he was given, every way that his parents sacrificed for him. I think we revere sacrifices in football. We revere it this weekend. Blood on the doorpost, blood on the cross. That's what we're talking about. And we have to really, really look deeply theologically into Coach Spurrier's soul to understand what his father really meant in terms of his incredible faith that let that man always bring his family into a new town, situation, and trust that they would be taken care of. Steve Spurrier saw that happen, and his belief in his abilities and just in the good Lord to put in front of him what he needs to succeed is a part of his soul.
You know, at one time, his father had a church in Hamer,
yes,
South Carolina, 3 miles from south of the border, 4 miles from Dillon, 11 miles from Latta, the garden spot of Dillon County. We all know this.
No.
How close did he come to living there, or at what stage in his life was his father in South Carolina as a preacher?
At the stage when you could not turn on your TV on Sunday, get a San Francisco 49er game, and see anybody but John Brody in the camera lens.
So he was already down the road. You mean he was already an adult?
Very much so.
Yeah,
very much so.
That's the thing about, you mentioned the religious aspect of it, and Spurrier, he doesn't wear it, on his sleeve the way, I know Dabo Sweeney's very open about his religion, and that's a big part of his program. Spurrier doesn't wear it on his sleeve, but he drops things. He'll make the God smile on the Gamecocks statements every now and then. I mean, he is a pretty religious guy, is he not?
Truly, deeply, and not there to evangelize, but at the same time there to do the right thing. And if you look around Columbia here from our perch on Main Street, just the sheer amount and progress that's come in. Coach Spurrier believes in this town. He was here for 6 years before he realized he was from here.
Winning keeps a coach employed. That's what keeps employed. But that's not what always fuels a coach. For Spurrier, you being a professor, a teacher, I know when an old student comes by, thank you for doing this for me or whatever, you really just perk up. And just to hear him announce about this 10-year reunion, you could hear in his voice that deep down, even though he's a football coach and he wants to win, he's a teacher, is he not?
Always on the proving ground, showing. Until just a few years ago, he was the best quarterback on his field, every field. And very much a mentor. Again, a father figure. You've hit a truism that is behind the success of the Gamecocks.
Let me ask you this question, because you're a very close observer to Spurrier, and this is something that I think I've recognized. Maybe I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I am seeing making up a word here, a youngening of Spurrier. He's 70 years old. Everybody knows that, or he'll be 70. But they've got him on Twitter. I'm serious. They've got him on Twitter.
He's on Twitter.
He was on Dan Patrick's show today, calling in to talk with Dan Patrick and Darius Rutger. Are they trying to make him more hip, knowing that in today's college recruiting world, social media is extremely important, and they want him to be a part of that, knowing that's attractive to recruits?
I'd like to see they make Coach Spurrier do anything. I think he's a fabulous tactician on the football field because he channels his opponents. He's a disciple of Sun Tzu, know your opponent. And at the same time, he's channeling his young people and trying to be inside their psyches and souls because he does have a love of mentoring. He does have a very powerful way to shape young lives, not just on the field, but for life. And I think he's just trying to understand what these crazy electronically based kids are all about.
Mm-hmm. But you look at him, I'm looking at his picture on Twitter. He does look a little younger to me. Now, maybe that's the presence of John Hoke taking some of the pressure off of him on the defensive side. Maybe that's giving him some youth back and maybe a little more energy than he had at the end of last season.
I think you're going to see a new coach on the sidelines in September.
Ran Henry with us here in our studio, the man who wrote the book on Spurrier. He's hanging with us. We got more to come. Don't go away. Rand Henry still with us here in our studio. He's going to hang out for a little while. We've got recruiting coming up for you. Jamal Gregory in the next hour, coverage of USC spring football. Spurrier did speak after practice today. We'll bring that to you as well. But you know what is right around the corner? It's the Masters next week in Augusta, and leading up to that, it's the Shell Houston Open, which, of course, is an opportunity for the golfers who are headed to Augusta to hone their games and get ready, and a chance for somebody maybe to win their way into Augusta National. We welcome in our good friend, former voice of the Oklahoma Sooners, John Brooks, with the leaderboard update from the first round of the Shell Houston Open. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Well, good to talk with you. Boy, you know how to lead people in, don't you? I mean, I can just follow that. First of all, we can start with your little hint that maybe somebody might get a trip next week that they weren't expecting, because a pretty unlikely guy would be Scott Piercy, but he's the leader. He's been on the tour for 8 years. I bet you could ask a lot of people, you know, who is he, that they wouldn't have a clue. He's won over $9 million, but you know what? He's only been a two-time winner. Over a year ago, he had some surgery on an arm. It troubled him for a while. He actually was runner-up at in Hawaii at the Sony Open early on the tour this year. He's really been struggling, and he almost walked away on Tuesday. It was early in practice, and he said he almost had it.
Mm-hmm.
He finally talked himself into going 13 hours that day. He practiced 13 hours, and he said late in about the 13th hour, he said something clicked. Well, whatever clicked, it carried over for another 36 hours, and he was out early today in with a course record tying for the Golf Club of Houston, a 9 under 63. So a good story there, and whether it continues or not remains to be seen. But you can flip it over to the other side, and you were talking about guys trying to get ready. The Masters, 35 of the players here in the field will play at Augusta next week, and the guy who's had a spotlight on him, although he hasn't had a reason to have a spotlight, is Phil Mickelson, because he's, you know, struggled so far in 2015, only played 6 tournaments and missed the cut in 2, hadn't had a top 10 finish. But today, he finally, Phil got some things together. He was pretty happy. He went off early, but he's in at 6 under 66.
It was a good first round. It was a good start to the tournament. I got off to a quick start, 3 of the first 4 holes, and kept it going. Had a good round, and it's a nice start to the tournament. There's a lot of those courses in great shape, just pristine condition, and the greens being soft are going to allow us to get more aggressive to some of the pins and make some more birdies. So there'll be some low scoring, but I'm just glad I was one of them.
Well, he was one of them, and Philly was right, because sometimes it doesn't happen in the afternoon on the first day of those guys who go off early and really jump on the board. But Alex Cejek not in, but he still got a hold of play. He's got a chance to catch him. He's at 8 under. J.B. Holmes was at 8 under, fell back and finished the day at 7 under. And then you got a bunch, including Mickelson, at 6 under. There was a good day for Scott Brown from Aiken. He's in the top 15 right now at the end of the first round. He's at 4 under 68.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Now, you know, everybody is waiting on the official word from Tiger. Gosh, I got to believe it's coming most any time on his web page or his Twitter page. What's the golfers in Houston? They all must feel like, since he practiced at Augusta this week, they all feel like he's going to play next week.
I've had that question asked 3 or 4 times, and you know, I do a lot of these shows around the country.
Sure.
My deal is I had played a cut with Ricky Fowler on a show earlier, and Ricky was talking about the fact that, you know, that he definitely wants to play the week before, doesn't want to sit at home, wonder. As you know, he documented all the reasons, and there's 35 players here, like I said, they're going to play. Well, you know, Phil, that with the field at the Masters, you know, by the time you pair out the people that have, you know, don't have a prayer, you're down to anywhere, what would you say, 65 to 70 that you could say might have a legitimate chance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 35 is half of 70, isn't it? And that's a 50-50 deal on guys that want to play the week before or not play the week before. And I told a couple of people, I said, as far as what the players feel on Tiger, that's probably the same formula. It's about 50-50.
We appreciate it, John. We'll talk to you tomorrow night after round number 2. John Brooks from the Shell Houston Open. Some other scores of note for us that we guys that we like to follow. Jordan Spieth, 3 under 69. He mentioned Ricky Fowler is 69. Sam Saunders, former Tiger star. What a comeback year for him, Arnold's grandson. 3 under through 14. Ernie Els a 70. Bill Haas a 71. That's 1 under. Kevin Kisner, 2 over 74. Jonathan Bird, a 4 over 76 for JB. So there you go. The highlights from the Houston Open with the Masters and the RBC Heritage coming up in the next couple of weeks to dominate the golf scene here in South Carolina. Recruiting coming up in a moment. All right, let's continue on a busy edition of Sports Talk with some recruiting for you. Linebacker Trey Lamar, Roswell, Georgia, took recent visits to Alabama, Florida, and Florida State. Now he has a refreshed top 5 of Clemson, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, and Florida State in no order. He's going to Auburn April 18th for the spring game. He'll not make it to Clemson's or any other spring game April 11th because of a combine in Charlotte on the 12th. He said Clemson and Alabama are the 2 talking to him with the most frequency. Said he has a great relationship with the coaches at Clemson, talks to Venables regularly, and Coach Elliott as well. Good relationship with them. Likes Clemson a good bit. Said all the visits have been equally good. Hard to differentiate between the schools off those visits. And he said as far as the different type of defensive schemes, he said he can play in anything, 4-3-3, 4-4-2-5, not a factor with him. His decision won't come before this fall. He wants to take officials before making his decision, also considering graduating early. Running back Trey Harbison from Shelby, North Carolina, who was in for USC's recent junior day, has trimmed his list to South Carolina, Wake Forest, Vanderbilt, Virginia, and Pittsburgh. Plans to decide in early June. He's going to visit Wake Forest Friday for spring practice. Also plans on visiting Pittsburgh or Virginia next week. Thaddeus Moss, defensive end from, make that tight end from outside of Charlotte, son of Randy Moss, picked up an offer from Southern Cal. USC is also one of his offers, the real USC, as a matter of fact. That would be South Carolina for those who are confused. Parker Boudreaux, who got me yesterday. I might have been his only victim on Twitter. You know, the knucklehead who they say is the most heavily offered player in the country with like 80 offers. You know, he's a big-time offensive lineman from Orlando. He puts on Twitter in the afternoon something thanking everybody for recruiting him, but he's made his decision to stay in state. And, you know, me, Mr. Twitter follower that I am with these knuckleheads, I, retweet his tweet, which is what you do. It's not reporting. I don't call it reporting. I call it repeating. It's all you're doing now is repeating, not reporting.
Retweeting.
Yes. But turns out it was an April Fool's joke because he then wrote that he was committing to Emory. Is it Emory and Riddle?
Emory Riddle.
Emory Riddle.
But that should have been
pilot school.
That should have been a pretty big.
It didn't hit me. It was
thing.
April
Like
1st.
that's not a school that has a football team.
Well, no.
It was a riddle.
Yeah, that's when. Yeah. Well done. That was when I realized it was a joke. But they were two separate tweets. He first put out the tweet, I've made my decision, I'm going to stay in state. Then there was a few minutes. Then he did the other tweet. Then he said April Fools. And I went, Anyway, he's visiting Oklahoma today. And USC offered the 2017 defensive back Trey Shaw from Ellenwood, Georgia.
Steve Spurrier Jr. might be wondering if that's what happened to all those commitments they had. Maybe those were all April Fool's jokes. Maybe Arden Key's going to show up.
It's already signed.
No, too late.
Too late.
Not going to happen.
That's not a joke. We'll be back. Rand Henry is with us. Jamal Gregory coming up. Coverage from USC spring practice as well in the next hour. Don't go away.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia. Rand Henry, who wrote the book Spurrier, How the Ball Coach Taught the South to Play Football, still with us. Back to him in a moment. We'll hear from Spurrier. He spoke after USC practice today. They're going to scrimmage on Saturday inside Williams-Brice, closed to the public. But we'll hear from Spurrier coming up in just a little bit. A couple of quick notes I wanted to pass along. This is from TigerNet. They write today that Clemson and Nike have reached a contract extension for Nike to be the official provider of Clemson sporting apparel and other things along those lines. And they report the contract will run through 2023 and will bring Clemson $23 million in cash and product over the course of the contract, about $2.875 million per year. Presbyterian, after its win over Clemson last night, opened up a Big South series today against Campbell, and the Blue Hose win it 7-2. They got a good baseball team there at Presbyterian. All right, back to Rand Henry before Jamal Gregory hopefully joins us in our next segment. Back to Spurrier. From your investigation of the various aspects of his life and his career, why did he not make it in the NFL as a star quarterback? Was it just the wrong place, wrong time, or his ability just wasn't good enough to make it in the NFL as a big-time quarterback?
2 words: John Brodie.
Really? Wrong place, wrong time.
A phenomenal quarterback who was entrenched in the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Coach Spurrier, you want to play a game of golf? I'm going out on the PGA Tour after the season is concluded. You want to play little cards in the plane? Pot went to Brodie. Dominoes, contact sport. John Brodie was a major, major reason why Coach Spurrier sat on the bench, indeed stood on the sidelines, saved his knees, and saw the plays run from field level. And he is not a play caller who needs to be upstairs. That's been a crucial element in his coaching success. All you guys downtrodden out there tonight feeling bad on the Easter weekend or Passover weekend cusp, the Lord might have a plan that you can't see, and that is definitely the case in Steve Spurrier's professional football career. I want to say quickly, when he got in the game in 72, Brodie hurt his ankle. He played like a champ. 5 touchdown passes against Chicago, still a club record here in San Francisco, got them back into the NFC West playoffs. And when Brodie's healthy, he goes back in. Dick Nolan just favored him.
And so because of the rules at that time in the NFL, it wasn't like he could just up and move on to another team. He was locked in the Niners, and the only way he could leave is if they traded him or cut him.
Indeed. Let's not forget, for 2 years, he was the team's starting punter.
Mm-hmm. How good was he?
Spirals, man. And he would play these crazy ball tricks in practice, try to get people to bet him. Nobody would. They knew he could knock that ball in from the corner with a flip over his shoulder. He is one coordinated guy. His mom plays a piano. That may have given him those hand-eye coordination genes. He's extraordinary at parlor tricks.
Be right back with more Sports Talk. course, we know USC and Mississippi State, they've got a baseball series beginning tonight in Starkville. Big series for both in terms of SEC play. That first pitch is going to be at 7:30. We'll keep you up to date on that in the final half hour of the show. Also, Steve Spurrier coming up in just a little bit. More with Rand Henry here on Sports Talk in just a little bit as well. Right now, though, we welcome in the newest member of the USC basketball recruiting class. From a commitment standpoint, he hasn't officially signed yet. That'll be coming up in about a week or so, I believe, is the spring signing period. Jamal Gregory, shooting guard from Washington, D.C., joining us here on Sports Talk. Jamal, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, we're doing great. Thank you for being with us tonight. Congratulations on your commitment to the Gamecocks. And let's just go back to your thinking in deciding to go with South Carolina. What were some of the main factors that you thought about and worked through your mind in deciding South Carolina?
First, the people around everyone was so nice, and I felt everyone was giving me was being very genuine with what they were telling me, and I would see alumni around the area, and everyone, all they had was good things to say, good and positive things to say. And Coach Frank, he just seems like a very good guy, and he has his best interest in me. And Coach Lamont, the assistant, he was a big factor in why I came. He came and visited me, talked to me almost every week. And it was just I just had a good time.
When did they start to put the real full court press on you and really impress upon you that they wanted you badly? How long has that been going on?
Since about December. December.
How did the relationship begin? They simply come down and scout you and began talking to you after that?
They were, well, Coach Lamont, he was there to see another guy on my team, and he just saw me in practice. And I guess I just caught his eye, and he just kept coming back. And then he spoke to me a couple of times, and then he got my number from Coach Chad, and we just started going from there.
And from your conversations with their staff, what are some of the things that they have told you that they like about you and things that they see from you that will fit into their program?
They like the way that I play defense and get the crowd into the game. And I just bring a presence on the court, and they just see a lot of potential in me, and they see me doing a lot of good things out there on the court.
You know, when I first started reading up about you and catching up on you in recruiting, it seemed like maybe Minnesota would be your destination. How strong were you with the Gophers at one point in time, and who else did you seriously consider?
I was actually considering them, but I was also considering Kansas State and Maryland, and that's it.
And the decision came down to what, South Carolina, K-State, and maybe Maryland?
Yes.
Now, Coach Martin is a guy with a very strong presence on the bench. I think we all know that. And he coaches his players up really, really hard during ball games. How do you like his style of coaching from what you've seen?
I like his style of coaching because that'll get the players into the game. That'll keep them into the game. We're down. He'll still be up, getting hype and getting up into us and telling us to get it together. So I like the way he coaches.
Jamal, obviously you've seen yourself and you've gotten the accolades because of your tremendous jumping ability. But you've said you've tried to shake the notion that you're just a leaper, that you're a all-around basketball player. How are you shaking that image, and what have you been working on?
I've been working on my dribbling. I feel like my handle has gotten a lot better in my shot, and also I like to come off a lot of pick and roll screens now. I feel like my decision making has gotten a lot better. So if I'm in a pick and roll situation, I usually make a good decision. And I got better at defending. I was always good, but I got a lot better, I think.
And the last time South Carolina went into the D.C. area and got a guard, it turned out pretty well for them, Trey Kelly. Have you ever heard that name around the D.C. area? Trey Kelly was one of the great recent guards at South Carolina.
Yes, Trey Kelly. Yeah, I know him. I played with him, played basketball with him out around our recreation center out over the last summer. And, yeah, I know him.
Going back to your leaping prowess, what is your actual vertical? What's it been measured at?
Just a 40.
Oh, just a 40.
That's all.
Just
that's about it.
just a now. We've seen the video of you leaping over. I think it was 5 teammates in a line, and getting a run. Now, tell us about that. How did you come up with that idea? How did you get them to volunteer to stand there? And tell us about that dunk that's on YouTube.
I was in the dunk contest in Myrtle Beach, and I really never really have a set plan on what I'm gonna do in a dunk contest. And I jumped over 2 people and I jumped over 3. I said I might as well just try 5. So I just got them together. They believed in me enough to let me do it. So.
I mean, how far back did you have to start your run to generate enough speed to fly over those guys?
I was about at like the half, a little bit in front of the half court line.
Mm-hmm. And did you win the dunk contest?
No, I didn't win it. I lost to LJ Peak. Yeah,
the in-state kid. You got jobbed.
Yeah, that was probably some home cooking.
You got jobbed.
Well, tell me this, because I know coaches want you to stay in the moment and play to your ability. But were there times in high school or times when you get the feeling that maybe the team isn't quite in it or the crowd isn't quite in it, and it almost forces you to say, look, I'm going to hammer this thing down to get people involved in this game?
Yes, that does happen sometimes. Yes, in my game.
Do you think that based on what you know and what they've told you, do you think you'll have a chance as a freshman to come in and earn some minutes?
Yes, I feel like I do. Coach Frank, he knows I love to defend, and he likes guys that like to defend. So I feel like if I defend and do my job, I can get on the floor and be successful and help my team win games.
How do you feel that the class that you're coming in with right now, it stands at 4, including the highly talented PJ Dozier, and another kid up your way, Chris Silva. They're very excited about him. How do you feel about coming in with this class? And there's probably going to be more added to it. And what do you think as a group you guys can do for the program?
I feel like we can help them out a lot. I know I've seen PJ's game. He's a great passer. And he's pretty like 6'6", so he makes good with the ball. And we like to run, so we'll get up and down the floor and things like that.
And you're going to sign the first day of the spring signing period when it's allowed?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I think a week from. Is it next Wednesday or a week from Wednesday?
I think a week from Wednesday.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a week from Wednesday. Well, Jamal, we appreciate it. Congratulations once again on committing to South Carolina. Look forward to seeing you down here this summer and this fall. And when next basketball season rolls around, I know Gamecock fans will be very excited to see you here.
Okay, thanks for having me. I can't wait to get down there.
Thank you very much, Jamal Gregory. Sounds like a keeper. If you've seen his video, you know he has got some athletic skills. Speaking of PJ, last night in the McDonald's game, 14 points, and I think it was 14 points, 4 rebounds. Is that right? 14 points, 4 rebounds. I know it's 14 points. Was
I've been trying to find a
assists?
box score. I think it's 14, 4 rebounds. I personally saw before I went to bed 2 assists, but I don't know how many assists.
And this goes for every player. No defense. No player played defense last night. That's why I don't hate the McDonald's game, but I mean, it's a joke. Nobody plays any defense. I mean, everybody's getting layups.
Get off my lawn. It's an all-star game. Do you watch the NBA All-Star game and go, this guy? They don't know. Fans don't go there to watch defense. Yeah, man up on this guy.
In 1977, I played in the Frank McGuire camp All-Star game at the Carolina Coliseum.
Did they have a special All-Star game? So we got the real All-Star and the other kids, Kornblut. You guys go over there.
We played defense in our All-Star game. Okay, thank you very much. I do remember
you did.
When I did make the team. When I was called
all defensive team. That's what you made.
I did make the all defensive.
That's what they give the kids at camp.
Being very defensive.
But when my name was called out, we were all sitting in the stands. They were calling out the players selected for the game, and I heard some guy go, "That's a joke." When I was chosen, that's a joke.
That was my grandfather.
I looked at him and then I slammed on him. Hey, thanks again to Jamal Gregory for being with us tonight on Sports Talk. Like that kid, I think he's probably going to be a very fine player for South Carolina over the years based on what I've read and what I've seen.
Some highlights at least. I mean, anytime you go out, just throw one down, people get excited.
But he says the right things. He knows he can play defense. He likes Frank Martin's coaching style, and he knows that by playing great defense, he'll have a chance to get playing time. That's how you really win over a coach's heart. Play great defense. Offense will come. Play great defense, you'll have a chance.
That leads to off. I mean, if you're going to win, you got to get some easy baskets. You get easy baskets with good defense, turning the team over,
teams win,
getting a bucket in transition.
Final 4. They get stops, and you got to get stops. If you don't get stops, you're not going to win.
Rand Henry is with us, and we'll get back to him in just a moment. You want to point out a couple of
a couple of things. One, Josh Kendall did point this out, and I was there yesterday, and the 40 times that were coming out, the one for Mike Davis in particular, the 4-3, I was like, then the other one they said 4-4-5. The official time that the NFL scouting is reporting is 4.56 and 4.58, a little closer to his 4.61 that he ran at the combine.
Yeah.
So the 4.3 was. I mean,
that's your
Davis
high school coaching friend. Your high school coaching friend that used to time him in the 39.
39, yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell them they were fast. They actually were. What else you got on Twitter? Here's a note that I'm seeing here. Clayton Stadnick has a sprained MCL. Been playing a tight end. So anyway, that's one little note.
Those offensive linemen.
We're going to hear from Spurrier.
They might have you out playing left tackle in the spring game, I heard. They had a celebrity come off the sideline and catch a pass in the spring game every year. Kornblut might actually be like the celebrity left tackle because they don't have enough.
I'm a journalist, number one. I'm not a celebrity.
No, that's true.
Number two, I'm too skinny to play.
Journalist.
Offensive lineups. You can't tell.
Journalists can be celebrities too.
You can't tell I've slimmed down.
Brian Williams is a celebrity. Bill O'Reilly's a celebrity.
Celebrity for the wrong reasons. Well, no, I consider Bill O'Reilly a journalist.
Yeah, when he was there covering that war in the Falklands.
You can have some celebrity status too. You can. You're not Rand, but if you're a journalist first, you're a journalist.
It depends if you're a commentator.
Mm-hmm. That makes you what? A commentator makes you what?
A Clemson guy.
A Clemson guy.
Oh, man.
How do you feel about Clemson, by the way? I mean, you didn't go to South Carolina. You're a Virginia guy.
And they stole my stadium nickname. I am a Hampton-Sydney Tiger.
Uh-huh.
We have played in Death Valley since 1914.
They call your place Death Valley too?
They call Clemson's place Death Valley due to a common opponent, Presbyterian. Those football coaches knew their Tennyson. They have marched into Death Valley and had the experience of playing Hampton-Sydney. They spoke about it. Death Valley it was. 40 years later, Presbyterian plays Coach Howard. Oh, your place is Death Valley too. So let's get this rock. I have a pretty big problem with the Clemson copycats.
Is that right?
Oh, the copycats. I see what you did there.
But all right, LSU, Death Valley, which came first?
That was Death Valley until those Cajun accents took over.
Because it's so loud, it's deaf. That's not death. It is. That's what they call it, but technically it's Deaf.
It was
Valley.
originally Death Valley?
Death Valley.
Death to audibles.
Like you can't hear anything.
How about that? All right. We got Spurrier coming up and more from Rand. Don't go away.
I think our women's basketball team flew down to Tampa.
I think so.
So they get all acclimated and so forth. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess when you practice in a gym, is that like getting in different stadiums, get the feel of it and so forth. But yeah, we'll be down there. Y'all going? You're going, aren't you? No. The basketball writers are going. They have the game. Quarterbacks, yeah, they did okay today. They did okay. We're just
looking for out of the quarterbacks.
Quarterbacks, yeah, they did okay today. They did okay. We're at a point. Our offensive. Quarterbacks, yeah, they did okay today. They did okay. We're at a point. Dumbass.
All right, USC football resumed practice today at the new practice fields. They'll practice again tomorrow, scrimmage on Saturday, and then turn the corner for the final week of spring practice, heading up to the spring game on April 11th. Steve Spurrier, who has been very active talking to the media this spring, I'm telling you, it's the youngening of Steve Spurrier. They're trying to present him. Maybe that's a good word. The greening. They're trying to present him, I think, in a more younger, active image coming off of last season, all with recruiting in mind. That's what everything is about here, recruiting. But anyway, he came over to talk to the media today once again after practice, and Scott Hood was there, so you know what the question was. How do quarterbacks play?
Quarterbacks, yeah, they did okay today. They did okay. We're at a point. Our offensive line has a tough time blocking our D line because we got all the guys in there that's never played basically, except Allen Knott, the center. The rest of them are all freshmen, redshirt freshman type guys. But that's good for them. So we don't get many passes off on them. We have to hold it a second or two. But that's okay right now.
You expect Connor Mitch at the top spot?
Yeah, Connor does a lot of good things here and there. Yeah, he's throwing it around pretty well. Yeah, Perry, Skarnecki do some good things too. I mean, all three of them have really improved. So we'll go through the spring, go through the summer, and get Nunez in here. Probably first week before we play North Carolina, unless one quarterback really steps forward, really outplays the others. So just keep them all competing, trying to learn the offense and so forth.
Are you planning to rotate the quarterback the same way you did last time, try to get them all equal throws? Or are you going to emphasize
a little bit?
Or
a little bit. We'll do a similar scheme like that. Mm-hmm. Let all three of them play.
What's your plan for Tuesday if you're still in Tampa? Will you move practice Aren't y'all scheduled to practice Tuesday?
We are scheduled to. We got 3 practices available for next week after this week. So we could always go Thursday, Friday, Saturday if we needed to.
Yeah.
Friday is a flexible day. So we're actually a day short of 4 next week. So yeah, if we're victorious, we'll probably cancel Tuesday. Move it.
Steve, is there an opportunity for one of those guys down the depth chart at receiver to kind of break out and make it impact? I mean, a lot of guys kind of bunch below Farrow, and I wonder if
Farrow and Depot's doing well. Depot's going to play a lot. Terry Googer caught some balls today. Shaq Davidson. Who else caught some balls? Shamir Jeffrey. He catches most of them. He still drops a few here and there. But yeah, it's early. It's early. Yeah, these guys, most receivers should be catching balls all summer. If they catch balls all summer, then we can really see what they can do.
Was your April Fool's joke spur of the moment, or did you plan that last night?
We just thought about it on the way. It was April 1st. We usually don't do much around here, so Todd Ellis, I said, what do you think about saying Pharaoh's decided to give up his 3rd year? Usually he give up the 4th year, but we had to go for the 3rd year. But we called Pharaoh beforehand. Told him.
I thought Pharaoh was cleared it with him.
Yeah, we told him we were going to do it. Yeah, so
Pharaoh was full of clowning.
Steve Jr. Steve Jr. So yeah, we had to keep most of them in the loop. Yeah. But Dan August, our tight end, said, "Coach, you got me on the Pharaoh thing." I said, "You're kidding." He said, "Well, at first." He said, "At first." I said, "Really?" But then, we might have got a few people.
Maybe you got
a few.
Based on the reaction on Twitter, you got more than a few people.
Yeah, we really?
Oh yeah, you better. Oh sure.
I figured everybody say it's April 1st.
A lot of people don't forget that.
News was a little bit slow. Yeah, Dawn. It was interesting though. A lot of people don't know that basketball coaches, they have plays too. You know, they call plays. Yeah. Coach Tanner's he told me, he sat right behind the bench after Charlotte. He said every time out, Coach Dawn would draw up a play, and you know, I'm sure they'd run it many a time in practice, but she told them do this, that, and the other. Coach Tanner said after a timeout, he worked almost every time, worked every play. I think it was to get the ball to Tiffany. I think that was the play. Come around there,
to get the ball to Pharaoh
in the
play.
corner. Yeah.
Baseball coaches draw.
Well, they have plays too.
Yeah.
Steal second or this, that, and the other. But basketball is an interesting sport. You know, team that shoots the best that night. If it's pretty equal, certainly will have the best chance to win. Make their free throws at the end of games. It was huge. Tiffany got a lot of credit for her points, which she deserved, but Dozier made four free throws. And we were up by 4 points until that last little bucket. So obviously she was crucial also.
Enjoyed talking to Darius Rucker today?
Yeah, I talked to him briefly. A lot of people watch that, huh?
Did they know it was you when you called in before you went on
I think
there?
Darius recognized my voice.
Well, before that.
Dan called me and asked me to go on. And he said, we have a Stephen from Columbia. And then I started talking briefly, and Darius recognized my voice. I tell you, he wears that Gamecock hat everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So he is a proud Gamecock. He really is. And he's hit it big, too. I'll tell you what. We're probably going to be – our fundraisers are going to beat him up for a big donation here.
You would think so. If they haven't already, they're not doing their job.
I'm sure he's got a nice house in Nashville.
Yeah, he's big time in that country music. Got another #1 hit song, I think, just came out. That's what they were talking about.
We had Song of the Year, didn't he? Last year, had Song of the Year, something like that. He was album of the year, Song of the Year, yeah. Record of the year, yeah. He's pretty big.
Thirsty fella. How much they pay you to wear that around?
Not much.
Really?
You can tell we're running out of things to talk about in spring football when we start delving into restaurants, bars, and country music. All right, Steve Spurrier from earlier today after the Gamecocks practice. They'll practice again tomorrow. No media availability tomorrow. Then, of course, Saturday they'll have a scrimmage. We'll have coverage of that for you on the website, sportstalksc.com. Rand Henry is with us, the man who wrote the book Spurrier, How the Ball Coach Taught the South to Play Football. What do you think, what do you perceive his relationship with the media to be, especially after you just heard the give and take there? Typical post-practice question and answers, pretty light this time of year, much more serious during the season. What do you take of his relationship with the media?
The line that leapt out at me, those offensive linemen are young. They're getting pushed around. Good for him. I think he's really always got an agenda, no matter how small the talk might seem to be. I think he's typically talking to his players one way or another. We are all privileged to listen in.
Sending a message through
get your butt to class.
Sending a message through the media.
There's no doubt. Or to the coaches. He knows they monitor his words.
What about some of his safe phrases that he uses repeatedly? Because I heard him say one time, you'll never hear me say, I'm paraphrasing here, you'll never hear me say, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. I always say hopefully. He uses the word hopefully a lot. He uses this, that, and the other a lot. Little ways of changing the direction of a conversation. Did you notice that in your interviews with him?
Always. In his honor, on his 67th birthday, the Associated Press style book did decree hopefully is actually a word.
It was not a word up until then?
Think about it. What does it modify? Who's hopeful? While you're pondering that, Coach Spurrier, he is always trying to speak strategically. It's never
and
off the cuff.
protectively, right?
And protectively.
Well, the interesting thing now is you would think it would be a young guy, but here's Steve Spurrier in pretty much the twilight of his career, but it's still burning brightly. He's the one that steps out and say these players deserve some money, all this money that's coming in. And I guess you could answer that question when we come back from the break, but what made him be the one to step out?
Steven Garcia.
Really?
Steven Garcia set foot back on the practice field that very day in Columbia. And boy, if there was another time you didn't want to hear embattled or see it in the paper, it would be, what could Steve Spurrier say or do?
Hang on. We'll be right back. Just talked to offensive lineman John Simpson from Fort Dorchester, who visited USC today. All day he was at USC. We'll have a story up on the website, sportstalksc.com, and you can read all about it there. I'll tell you, it was a good visit from a South Carolina standpoint for him, and things are really tight with his recruiting between South Carolina and Clemson right now. Full details coming up. We'll put a story up for you in just a little bit after the show on our website, sportstalksc.com. You can, as they say, read all about it. You can also read all about Steve Spurrier in Rand Henry's book, Spurrier, How the Ball Coach Taught the South to Play Football. Back to what we were talking about as we hit the break. So Stephen Garcia, go back to that story again. Stephen Garcia is dismissed from the team. Is that when you're talking about when this happened? He's dismissed from the team.
Memorial Day 2011. Hey, Gamecocks, you have got a coach that covers for his boys.
All right, what happened?
Stephen Garcia coming back after a very, very difficult period. Ended back on the practice field. What would be the headline? The word embattled you just could picture. Coach Spurrier could. Let's make today the day we propose to pay players. He said out of his pocket, and very strategically he said, oh, here's a list of SEC coaches that support this, just so their recruits could be very sure who is in their corner or not. And Coach Spurrier knew that would be, in effect, a lightning rod, a way to deflect attention from Garcia's return. Let's fast forward to the terrible Black Tuesday when Garcia at last dismissed from the team. That's the day Coach Spurrier chooses to rail at Ron Morris. 6 months earlier, the infraction occurred.
How much of a pain was Garcia to Spurrier?
I think that's one of the things he didn't want to read about in my book. If you look at The Believer by Kenny Chesney, fabulous singer, a less than stellar documentarian, Coach Spurrier did not mind at all that story went from a cursed university to a winning university in about a minute. And Garcia was pivotal. And Steve Spurrier's ability to nurture Garcia, to give him what he needed, whether it was criticism or praise, everybody on that team knew he was very special to Coach Spurrier. No one else could have gotten out of Garcia what Spurrier did, and that was what brought Carolina forward to the time when the Marcus Lattimores, the Davian Clowneys would sign.
But did he hang with Garcia out of concern for Garcia or out of need for a quarterback? Because let's face it, the quarterback cupboard was pretty bare until Connor Shaw was developed.
All of the above. All of the above. And that to me was the ultimate act of great coaching, great mentoring with the university's best interests in mind.
But I've always said, and Corner back me up on this, and see if you think this. I thought Steve Spurrier saw a little of himself in Garcia in some ways. He liked to have fun, be gregarious, but he focused when he got on the football field. And he said, you know, I don't mind him having that fun, but if I could just reel him in, it's almost like he was mentoring to himself at some point.
I work to coach up my writing students. Some need pushing, some need pulling. Everybody has a different way their buttons need to be pushed. I think a master psychologist is at work under that visor. I think Jerry Spurrier played a great role in Stephen Garcia also feeling the family kind of support that he got here. And I just don't think Carolina makes the next step up to an elite program without him. And the first person to agree with that, his dear friend, Connor Shaw.
All right. So the work between you and Steve Spurrier. Now, do you guys communicate at all anymore after the writing of this book, after this book came out? And there were some things that, in particular that he did not like that you wrote about his relationship with his dad. I know when we interviewed you before, you said you were no longer in his inner circle. You were no longer communicating with him. Has that been resolved? Or are you able to communicate with him now?
He hollered at me the other day. That puts me in the same circle as Danny Werfel and Connor Shaw in my mind.
And what did he say to you?
He said, they let you in here? Yeah, Coach, they sure did. He was seeing me on the practice field there.
And what else did he say?
He's deadly serious.
He followed up with something else, did he not?
I said, they should have, Coach. He said, not after what you wrote. Bunch of lies. Bunch of lies. Now, then he gunned his golf cart.
Was he serious?
He was. My writing student was right there. I respect his opinion. I would hate for somebody to write down every single thing I ever did in my life, but at the same time, I stand by my thesis. His father was the dominant force in his life, man that to this moment burns in his heart, makes him want to compete at an ultra high level, and he gives that same mentoring and same tough love to his players. That's why he is a winner.
All right, hang on. You're doing more with Spurrier. You're not finished with him yet, and we'll find out what is up next in your plans with Spurrier, and also your thoughts about how close he was to walking away and why he is back to continue coaching at USC. We'll wrap it up with Rand in a moment. Can't tell you how much we've enjoyed having Rand Henry in the studio with us to talk about Steve Spurrier. This might have been the most exhaustive interview on the subject of Steve Spurrier in the history of mankind. And there's more to come. You're working, of course, on a paperback version of your book, and it will be up to date with the more recent history, including this season. And you're talking about doing a movie on Spurrier?
A screenplay I'm working on. I would say to you, Gamecock readers, this is an extraordinary story. You are blessed beyond measure to have this man coaching your ball team. And I would just hope to see you maybe in Rock Hill, and also Saturday, 2:00, Books A Million, maybe at the book fair. I'll be there, feature presenter, the 16th of May, 3:20 p.m. I believe in this story because Steve Spurrier is the ultimate competitor, and I have tried my best to show you his heart, his soul, his drive. He had a great friend in Johnson City that became the director of parks, recreation, said, "I'm the best park recreation guy I can be because of Steve Spurrier. I'd like to think I'm the best writer I can be because he taught me about competing for 4 quarters."
Why would this make a good motion picture?
Because Steve Spurrier, if he had never coached a down, is an extraordinary athletic story. He is not a weight room product. His best friend, Cotty Jones, always used to say, "Man, you never in there." Nope, I'm picking up the ball, heading out. He just took his physical gifts as they were and out-thunk every single defender. And he continues to do it today.
Do you think, I don't know anything about writing a movie, a screenplay, or getting one done, but do you think you're going to be able to get it to that point where somebody's going to want to make a movie out of him?
I have believed in this story from the year 1997 when I began it. I think that no matter what you know about him, you're going to learn something new. And I think that there is, again, the essence of what makes a man burn to be the very best he can be in this story. And I'm not done telling it.
How close did he come to hanging it up?
He had, after the Tennessee game, the same bumps and bruises on his soul his players had there in that locker room. Nobody appreciates what it would be like to go up against your former hometown. That's a special rivalry. And, oh, by the way, Tennessee just is his home and a place that he now has to compete with, and he likes it that way.
And so
that killed him.
Was he close after last season? When he said, give me 2 to 3 more years, you think he was genuine about that, or what was he thinking?
I think he's thinking it's a big act of faith of daring do to be back on the field with his legacy on the line this spring. Carolina fans very lucky that he's back, but he is in for the long haul now. I don't know what timetable he has, but nobody who is watching the SEC spring ball situation closely can help but do anything but admire this man for taking the helm of USC again with the talent he's got. I think he's already drawing up those ball plays. We'll see you guys in September. Looking forward to the season.
Graham, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Happy holiday weekend to you, to all you guys. Happy holiday weekend. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.
God bless the Gamecocks.